Hi, welcome back for February's Universal Energy Update. We've got lots to get into this month, some mindful actions and also some new concepts again as we saw in January. So they'll be towards the end for us to get our heads around. So just quickly, if you want to get my energy updates as soon as they hit YouTube, subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell down below. And also, if you want to be part of winning a personal truth channel reading each month, sign up to my blogging community. I'll link to my website down below at www.hayleybarkla.com. And this month's winner was Hayley Smith, so you'll get an email from me very shortly. Okay, so these are the actionable things we'll start with. So first off, patience with yourself while you feel into everything. This is a month that's pivotal, that we take nothing at face value, including this. And by all means, you really have to feel into this if this feels right for you. But it's about deeply discerning everything that's in front of us. We can get into a point, and this comes from some of the conceptual stuff we'll get into later, where we have already got an intended outcome in mind, whether that's fully conscious or subconscious. And therefore, we see things in the way that we want to see them, or we don't see things that we don't want to see because we don't want to face the fact that that outcome may not actually be the case. So this month is, as one of the other things that's coming up, which is heightened truth on in the February energies, it's highly necessary that we are very discerning on everything we watch. Be open, be aware, and be alert to every bit of information that's coming our way, because we know we're bombarded with it at the moment. Okay, action number 2 for February is never speak out of turn. And this comes from the basis of say what you mean, not what you want to think other people want to hear. And that's not to be crass or abrupt to other people, but this is really about standing in your truth. February is a month where truth is expanding on the planet. And what happens when we all individually in our daily lives speak our truth without fear and without such a stubbornness that it's not about being stubborn, it's just about being truthful. When collectively we all speak truth, then that actually creates a broader wave of energy of truth, and it actually will highlight more truth coming out from the other side, let's say. So this is the month where the more we speak truth, the more truth we will see. And one thing I did see this morning, and I love how this works with synchronicity, is a YouTube post this morning from Russell Brand, which was called Truth, ironically. And I'll pop a link down below, because it was focusing on the Joe Rogan podcast and the misinformation being spread and what's happening with Spotify. And it was a really nice take on how we see truth. So I highly recommend watching it just for grander perspective, and to show that when one side of a paradigm is speaking their truth, whether it's agreed upon or not, it just highlights potentially imbalances where the other side needs to start speaking more truth in equal proportion. And he does that really well, so I highly recommend that. Number 3, smile. There's a joke made in part of the channeling about the new concept that we'll talk about soon, about you'll gain more from hearing about this new concept, even if you don't understand it, than you would just being told to have a positive mindset, and it's all about self-love and smiling and being happy, that there's more richness to come out of that concept even if you don't understand it. And so it's quite funny that smile is one of the things that they now recommend. But the intention behind smile is that it emits light, and from how they've explained it, which I think is beautiful, a brief smile to another is a courageous sign that from your heart that you're not in fear. And I think that's just stunning in what a smile, as simple as it is, and essentially it's saying in the face of adversity and a lot of what's going on the planet right now, there's just a really gentle practice of smiling at someone else as you walk past, bypass them in the street, or if you're over Zoom, however you're working at the moment or acting in the world, just a nice smile it connects into the soul essence of empowerment and engagement as well. So they're the three things that we need to focus on in more of a physical sense in February. So moving on from that, we'll just quickly talk about Mother Earth and where she's going. So there's a really strong message about the expanding energy that she's essentially ready to burst. She's ready to explode. And what that means for those that are not choosing that timeline, essentially, of expansion with her, that she's doing it regardless, and if you want to jump on board, that's great. And this may not represent in the physical sense, and that may not make a lot of sense to some people, but it's more about the metaphysical, energetic imprint of your body responding to what she's actually going through as well. So it was made very clear, which I appreciate, but sometimes I would like a little bit more information, that they're not going to go into what happens if you don't go with her, that darkness will not grace these pages. So, but that's something to really contemplate. And the reason that they've given that they don't go into a lot of detail, although, you know, there's a lot of information out there if you want to seek it, and you have to feel, again, discern what's right for you. But the reason that they say they don't want to go into a depth of not choosing to align with the heightened energy that Mother Earth is taking is that it denies you free will. If we knew the end result of everything, verbatim, total knowing about everything that was going to happen for us, then we wouldn't have free will. We would have choices of avoidance of pain. And that is so true. So they made it very clear there are enough people, there are enough light workers, light bearers, whatever you want to call people, in all walks of life. That doesn't have to be such in the spiritual sense of the word, shining light on the planet right now. And if you can't or are unwilling to attune to that and receptive to that, then you're not speaking the language, I guess, of where Mother Earth is going. So that's what they've told you is the guiding force, I guess. It's about aligning with things that make your heart feel alight, and that will be your metaphysical pathway with Mother Earth. Okay, so another thing they brought up is the concept or the symbology of a mirror ball. So the mirror ball is, anyone that's done any kind of self-development work will know the reference a mirror and how other people are in front of us in our world to reflect back to us either lessons that we need to learn, what we don't like about ourselves, deeper shadows that we need to work on, things that we don't want to align with. So everyone is a reflection for us to learn from. So that's the concept of a mirror. With a mirror ball, obviously you have a multifaceted sides of this mirror. So there's mirrors everywhere and there's so much going on. And they actually liken that to, and I can relate this back to social media, the amount of information and content that we're bombarded with on a daily basis in our lives, and so many reflections coming at you at once that it becomes convoluted, totally confusing for anyone that's trying to grow self-awareness. And this aligns to that action of this month of being highly discerning. Try not to get confused with the millions of mirrors that are coming your way, and slow it down a little bit. Focus on one, feel into it, really feel in your heart if that aligns to you or that doesn't align to you. But this mirror ball is a tactical element of keeping you from growth. And that's all I'll say about that. Okay, now I have to try and explain a new concept. So as we had in January's video, which was the concept of action and reaction based on past memory, we are using that same basis but taking us into what they call conscious time. So these concepts, as you know, as I discussed last time, it doesn't mean that we are physically living these right now. Some may be, depending on where you're sitting in your conscious awareness or growth. But it's more about just a knowledge base and a thinking, and they would liken it to, it's like activating the memory bank of the soul. Hearing these words is actually, even though they might sound absurd, is actually you're going to get more from it at a deeper level than you'll have ever realized. So let's talk to conscious time. There's sort of two concepts or learnings that come out of this one concept. So I will try my hardest to make this make sense, because it's not easy for me to explain, although I was told in no uncertain terms that I must share this. So here we go. So on Earth, currently in this dimension, how we experience time is in a very linear fashion. We have past, present, future. That is not the case outside of this structure of limitation that we live in, and that our consciousness sits in at this point, and where we are shifting away from. And these concepts are being given to you so that as activation points, so as the energy keeps raising on the planet, that ways of acting and being become familiar with you, that you hear this concept and you're like, oh, I understand, I can do that, I remember that. So currently, past, present, future. And as we were highlighted in January, that how we react and act is based on reflecting on the past and then projecting into the present or the future. That is our way of living, that we act on experience. So in the heightened energies, as we move into higher dimensional frequencies, that way of creating or that way of acting doesn't exist, and this is a stepping stone into that. So if we just focus on the time element for the first little bit, so currently we have this linear time frame. In the 5D reality, we have singular points on a momentum scale. I know. How do I explain that? So as we react or create, the creation exists at a single moment, on a single point. It's like, it's instantaneous together, where we see or we experience things as like we do this and then we get that down the track. And it's not the case in higher dimensional frequencies. So that's one part of this conscious time concept. The other part is actually the creation method. So how we create now, as I said, we reflect back and then project forward. But when we do that, we have a really intended outcome for that experience, for that creation, or for that action. That we have an assumption of where it's going to go, or desire, but that we've sort of structured this limit or this box around it. We don't let it be free. In 5D structure or higher dimensional structure, that creation is actually put out from the frequency that's from our heart. So we create from this frequency of love, and it sends out its own creative vibration into a bandwidth of frequency. So the ending outcome is going to sit somewhere in this bandwidth, but the only thing that you can be sure of that is going to be lined to the frequency that you put out, either of the same resonance or higher. But you don't create with that outcome of like, I'm doing this because I want that. You put it out in your heart, and then you see what consciousness creates back in return. Very different way of thinking, but that is the joy of without having that limitation that we have, is that every creation is unending in its delight, because you don't have, you're not limiting what's coming from you. So I hope that makes sense. The best way I can align it to is that if you've ever done painting for ceramic art or vases, whatever you want to call it, the glazes are almost all the same color until they go through a firing process. So if I was to hand you 10 pots of glaze and you were to paint your vase based on what you're seeing on the table, your vase you'll have absolutely no idea what is going to come out at the other end. And that's the best way I can relate it, where you have that full free expression, that full creativity, and you're doing it from your heart, and you're doing it from feel and intuition and love, with absolutely no understanding of the outcome. So I hope that makes a bit of sense. As I said, it's to activate something in you. The energies for February are very much about new awakening and up-leveling consciousness, and that I have no doubt will be the theme for the whole year, an overriding theme. But with that, we just need to be conscious that there will be conflict and there will be adjustment periods. And we can see that happening on the planet at the moment. I hope you can see that happening on the planet at the moment, because a lot is obviously not being shared. But yeah, this is that discernment. So please keep your eyes and ears open this month, and I will see you in March. Okay, bye.